Namaskar. Honorable President of this session, respected Aurobindo'S Doctor, Vice President, Sri Aurobindo'S Society, Assam State Committee, Dr. Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharya, Chairman, Assam State Committee, Sri Aurobindo'S Society, Professor Dr. Amalendra Chakraborty, Vice Chancellor Rabindranath Tagore University, Hojai, Honorable Assistant High Commissioner of Bangladesh in Guwahati, Dr. Shah Muhammad Tanvir Mansoor, the August gathering, devotees of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother from different branches of Assam, and the respected and cultured souls present here. First, there is a clarification. Neither am I a scholar, nor do I possess any scholarship. Why then this audacity on my part? I have a sense of offering anything and everything at the lotus feet of the Supreme Divine Mother. And this is the sole source of strength and audacity on my part. And rest, all is she alone doing. So I am aware of my limitations and shortcomings. We are parallelly organizing Azadi Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th years of India's independence, and 150th Sesquicentenary of Sri Aurobindo'S birth parallelly. Why this identification? Why this identification? Why this coincidence? Let us hear from the Master's words itself. Sri Aurobindo says, said on 14th August 1947, on the eve of India's independence, broadcast through All India Radio, Tirusillapalli. August 15 is the birthday of Free India. It marks for her the end of an old era, the beginning of a new age. But it has a significance, not only for us, but for Asia and the whole world. For it signifies the entry into the Committee of Nations of a new power with untold potentialities, which has a great part to play in determining the political, social, cultural, and spiritual future of humanity. To me, personally, it must necessarily be gratifying that this day, which was notable only for me because it was my own birthday, celebrated annually by those who have accepted my gospel of life, should have acquired this vast significance. As a mystic, I take this identification not as a coincidence or fortuitous accidents, but as a sanction and seal of the divine power which guides my steps on the work with which I began life. Indeed, almost all the world movements which I hope to see fulfilled in my lifetime, though at that time they looked like impossible dreams, I can observe on this day either approaching fruition or initiated or on the way to their achievement. So this is the significance behind this identification, behind this coincidence. So let me begin by offering my homage from the deepest core of my heart at the lotus feet of the Supreme Divine Mother and Sri Aurobindo on this auspicious sesquicentenary of his birth, celebrated across the world throughout the length and birth of this great land, Bharatavarsha, along with her 75th years of independence. But then, who is Sri Aurobindo? Mahakavi, Mahabiplobi, Maharishi, poet, philosopher, journalist, civil servant? Who is he? We know the mother made Sri Aurobindo because my speech will be a sort of compilation from the writings of the mother and Sri Aurobindo, because I am aware of my limitations and shortcomings. Because Sri Aurobindo himself once said that nobody can write on me, nobody can write about me. Why? Because my life has not been on the surface for man to see. So how a small fry like me could tell or could speak about him? So my speech is basically a sort of compilation from the writings of mother and Sri Aurobindo himself. So it's a sort of compilation. And we know the mother made Sri Aurobindo for the first time on the 29th March 1940. She wrote on the very next day, she wrote in her diary. And let us hear from her diary of 30th March 1940 what she wrote. Mother wrote, "It matters little that there are thousands of beings plunged in the dense ignorance. He whom we saw yesterday is on earth. His presence is enough to prove that a day will come when darkness shall be transformed into light and thy reign shall be indeed established upon earth." So, it was mother's first comment on Sri Aurobindo. And then, what he represented, what Sri Aurobindo represented in the world. Professor Oman Chakraborty has already quoted. Let me quote once again. Mother says, what Sri Aurobindo represents in the world history is not a teaching. It's not a teaching, then what it is? Mother says, not even a revelation. It's not even a revelation, not even a teaching. Then what it is? Mother says, it is a decisive action. It is a decisive action direct from the Supreme. The decisive action direct from the Supreme. Then why he has come to the world? Why Maharishi has come to the world? Mother says, he has come to beat the earth, to prepare for its luminous future. To prepare earth for her luminous future. Sri Aurobindo has brought to the world the assurance of a divine future. Assurance of a divine future. Sri Aurobindo has come on earth not to bring a teaching, or a creed in competition with previous creeds or teachings, but to show the way to overpass the past, and to open concretely the route towards an imminent and inevitable future. Sri Aurobindo does not belong to the past. Sri Aurobindo does not belong to the past nor to history. Sri Aurobindo is the future. Sri Aurobindo is the future advancing towards its realization. So what then is that luminous future? Spoken by the mother. What then is that luminous future, the divine future, the inevitable future that Sri Aurobindo has come to show, of which so emphatically and profoundly the mother has spoken of? What is that luminous future? What is that inevitable future? Let us quote directly from the Master's words. Sri Aurobindo says, "Arise, transcend thyself, become thyself. Thou art man, and the whole nature of man is to become more than himself. He was the man animal. He was the man animal. He has become more than the animal man. He is the thinker, the craftsman, the seeker after beauty. He shall be more than the thinker. He shall be the seer of knowledge. He shall be more than the craftsman. He shall be the creator and master of his creation. He shall be more than the seeker of beauty, for he shall enjoy all beauty and all delight. Physical, he seeks for his immortal substance. Vital, he seeks after immortal life and the infinite power of his being. Mental and partial in knowledge, he seeks after the whole life and the other vision. To possess these is to become the Superman. To possess these is to become the Superman, for it is to rise out of mind into the supermind. Call it the divine mind or knowledge or the supermind. It is the power and light of the divine will and the divine consciousness. Why? Because Maharishi says evolution is not finished. Evolution is not finished. Evolution is not finished. Reason is not the last word, nor the reasoning animal, the supreme figure of nature. As man emerged out of animal, so out of man, the Superman emerges. Superman emerges. For, Sri Aurobindo says, man is a transitional being. He is not final. Man is not final. He is only a transitional being. What then is he? What then is he? He is a middle term of the evolution. He is the middle term of the evolution, nor its aim, crown or consummating masterpiece, says Sri Aurobindo. Then, what is the rational argument? Is there any rational argument that man will become divine? Is there any rational argument? Here is Master's argument in the life divine itself. Maharishi says, the animal is a living laboratory. Animal is a living laboratory in which nature has, it is said, worked out man. Man himself may well be a thinking and living laboratory, in whom and with whose conscious cooperation she wills to work out the Superman, the God. Or shall we not say, rather to manifest God? But there is a condition. What Maharishi says, with whose conscious cooperation we have to collaborate with the nature. Then only out of man, Superman will arise. So this is the logical argument put forward by Maharishi in his life divine, that the animal is a living laboratory in which nature has, it is said, worked out man. Man himself may well be a thinking and living laboratory, in whom and with whose conscious cooperation she wills to work out the Superman, the God. Then what is the highest human aspiration? Do you have the aspiration to become Superman? Maharishi says, this impulse towards God, life. This impulse towards God, life, freedom, immortality is hidden within the deepest core of the humanity. Hidden within the deepest core of humanity. And driving it from behind the veil towards their fulfillment amidst the contradiction of the persistent ideal of the race. There is the contradiction in the practical world, but amidst the contradiction of the persistent ideal of the race, this constant aspiration is driving from behind the veil towards their fulfillment. This impulse or this preoccupation in the awakened thought, only the awakened thought of the humanity, is not only the earliest one. This preoccupation, what is that preoccupation? The impulse towards God, life, freedom, immortality. So this impulse or this preoccupation in the awakened thought of the humanity is not the earliest one. It's not only the earliest one. It is the ultimate. It is the ultimate as well as the highest preoccupation of the race which its thought can envisage. There had been skepticism. Yes, of course there had been skepticism against this constant aspiration of the race. But then it has survived and returned after every banishment. The humanity is today satiated. The humanity is today satiated but not satisfied by the victorious analysis of the externalities of nature. It is in its deepest core preparing to return to its primal longings. And what is that primal longings? The God, life, freedom, immortality. To its primal longings, the earliest formula of wisdom, God, life, freedom, immortality. What then is its teaching and its starting points? What is the starting point of Mahayogi's teaching? One of the most fundamental ideas upon which the foundations of Sri Aurobindo's teachings rest is that matter as well as spirit is to be looked upon as real. This is the primary foundation of Mahayogi's teaching. Matter as well as spirit, not the Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Brahma Satya, Brahma is Satya, Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya, Jagat itself is the Brahman. Jagat is the manifestation of the Brahman. So this is the crux of, or this is rather the foundations of Mahayogi's teaching, that matter and spirit is to be looked upon as real. Matter not as mithya, but matter is the manifestation of the Supreme Brahman. So the philosophy and the teachings of Sri Aurobindo starts from that of the ancient sages of India. Maharishi himself says, it says that behind the appearance of the universe, there is the reality of a being and consciousness. There is a reality of being and consciousness, a self of all things, one and eternal. Although all beings are united in that one self and spirit, yet divided by a certain separativity of consciousness. This separation is actually an ignorance of their true self and reality in the mind, life, and body. Sri Aurobindo says, it is possible by a certain psychological discipline to remove this veil of separative consciousness and become aware of the true self, that is to say, the divinity within us and all. So, this one being and consciousness is involved here in matter. This reality, this consciousness is involved here in matter. This one being and consciousness is involved here in matter. And why? So, why matter is real? Because the superconscious spirit has involved itself in the inconscious matter which gave birth to this material. This seemingly inconscious matter is therefore nothing but the spirit in disguise and hence real. So this matter is nothing but this seemingly inconscious matter is therefore nothing but the spirit in disguise. The spirit in disguise and hence real. What then is spirit? What is spirit? What then is spirit? Sri Aurobindo says, the original substance of the spirit is pure existence. The original substance of the spirit is pure existence, carrying in it pure self-existent consciousness, or you can speak it as consciousness of less force and pure self-existent ananda. So what is the spirit? It is the supreme consciousness, superconscious. And the original substance of the spirit is pure existence, carrying in it pure self-existent consciousness and pure self-existent ananda. So the spirit is consisting of self-existent ananda and pure self-existent consciousness. You can say this is not only consciousness, but consciousness plus force. So, what is consciousness? Consciousness is a reality inherent in existence. Consciousness is not only power of awareness of self and things, it is or has also a dynamic and creative energy. Consciousness is seed, but also seed Shakti. So consciousness is consciousness plus force, seed Shakti. And evolution is the method. Evolution is the method. So evolution is the method by which it liberates itself. It liberates itself with the spirit involved in the matter. The spirit involved in the matter liberates itself. Says Aurobindo. And evolution is nothing but the gradual unfoldment of this hidden spirit. Gradual unfoldment of this hidden spirit. Matter, light, mind, all are but different manifestation or expression of this hidden spirit at different stages of evolution. So Aurobindo says, consciousness appears in what seems to be inconscient. And once having appeared in self-impelled to grow higher and higher, and at the same time to enlarge and develop towards a greater and greater perfection. Then Maharishi says, evolution still continues. Evolution still continues. Life is the first step. Life is the first step of this release of consciousness. Mind is the second. Life is the first, mind is the second. But the evolution does not finish with mind. Evolution does not finish with mind. It awaits a release into something greater. It awaits a release into something greater, a consciousness which is spiritual and supramental. Sri Aurobindo says that the next step of the evolution must be towards the development of supermind and spirit as the dominant power in the conscious being. Sri Aurobindo declares that for only then will be the involved divinity in things release itself entirely and it become possible for life to manifest perfection. So, what is evolution? Evolution has to be preceded by involution. In Mahayogi's teachings, there are two aspects of the movement. One is ascending and one is descending. So descending is involution and the ascending is evolution. So evolution is the aspect of ascent of consciousness. Evolution is the aspect of ascent of consciousness, but there is the other aspect of it also, the aspect of descent. This descent aspect is known as involution. In fact, without the descent of the spirit into the world, there cannot be any ascent of the consciousness. There is a descent of the spirit into matter. That is why matter seeks to evolve into something higher than matter, that is to say life. There is a descent of spirit into life, and that is why life seeks to rise to something higher than itself, mind. There is a descent of spirit in the mind, and mind must therefore move towards its source by ascending to something higher than itself, supermind. The ascending process does not stop with the supermind. The ascending process does not stop with the supermind, but continues till the absolute spirit or Sesquicentenary is reached. The evolution of the world has so far reached four stages so far: matter, life, psyche that is our inner soul, that is our individual soul. So matter, life, psyche, and mind. The evolution must now take up a leap into the next higher stage, namely the supermind. When this leap is taken, there will be a total transformation of the whole world. So, what is the peculiarity of the philosophy of Sri Aurobindo? It is not only philosophy. It is philosophy plus yoga. It is philosophy plus yoga. How it will be possible? How it will be possible? Because already Mahatma has said that with the conscious cooperation of the humanity, with the conscious cooperation, this is the key word. So, the order of involution as sketched by Sri Aurobindo is as follows. Involution, that is the descent of existence, consciousness, force, bliss, supermind, mind, psyche, light and matter. The order of evolution will therefore be matter, light, psyche, mind, supermind, bliss, consciousness, force, existence. This is the process. The first four means first four, that is to say the existence, consciousness, force, bliss, supermind. These first four constitute the upper hemisphere, and the last four the lower hemisphere. And it is a very, very key word. Why? I shall be explaining. So stages in the lower hemisphere, subordinate forms of those in the upper hemisphere. So mind is a subordinate power of supermind. Mind is nothing but the subordinate power of supermind, which takes its stand in the standpoint of division. Because mind, the characteristics of mind is divisionary. Mind is divisionary. Mind is not integral. Mind is not unity. Mind is divisionary. Life is similarly a subordinate power of the energy aspect of Sesquicentenary. What is life? Life is the energy aspect of the Sesquicentenary. It is force working out form and the play of conscious energy from the standpoint of division created by mind. Matter is the form of substance of being, which is the existence of Sesquicentenary assumes when it subjects itself to this phenomenal action of its own consciousness and force. And psyche and soul is similarly a subordinate power of the third divine principle of infinite bliss, but a power in terms of our consciousness and under the conditions of soul evolution in the world. But there is a knot, granthi, there is a knot between mind and supermind. So evolution from mind to supermind is not so easy. Why not so easy? The knot between the higher and the lower hemisphere. So there is two hemispheres. One is upper hemisphere, one is lower hemisphere. Lower hemisphere means matter, life, psyche and mind. And the upper hemisphere means the existence, consciousness, bliss and supermind. But there is a knot between these two hemispheres. This is why evolution from mind to supermind is not so easy. So the knot between the higher and the lower hemisphere is where mind and supermind meet with a veil between them. There is a veil between them. There is a veil between mind and supermind. There is a veil between mind and supermind. There is a knot between mind and supermind. There is a knot between lower hemisphere and the upper hemisphere. Then Maharishi himself says, but while the former steps, that is the step up to mind, the evolution up to mind, but while the former steps in evolution were taken by nature, so matter to mind, the steps were taken by the nature herself, not by anybody. So, but while the former steps, that is the steps up to mind in evolution, were taken by nature without a conscious will, in the plant and animal life. In man, nature becomes able to evolve by a conscious will in the instrument. So this conscious will have to be conscious, have to collaborate. Without the collaboration of this conscious will, evolution will not take place. So it is not, however, by the mental will in man, not by intellectuality or not by mental will in man, that this can be wholly done. This can be means from evolution from mind to supermind. Then what is the way out? So it is not, however, by the mental will in man, that this can be wholly done. For the mind
goes only to a certain point, and after that can only move in a circle. A conversion has to be made. A conversion has to be made, a turning of the consciousness by which mind has to change into the higher principle. Then what is the way? This will be made possible. This will be made possible. This will be means this ascent from mind to supermind. By what? By the descent of the latter. By the descent of the latter into the former, through the rending of the veil which separates them. So by descent of the latter, by descent of supermind, by rending of the veil which separates them, because there is veil between mind and supermind. But how? However, is to be effective. How? This is the most important thing. Then it is the cardinal teachings of Mahayogi. Without that, we cannot move further. And what is that? How, however, is this to be effected? It will be effected by the divine Shakti. It will be effected by the divine Shakti, not by the mind, not by the intellectuality. It will be effected by the divine Shakti. Then what is our rule? We have to collaborate consciously. So what is our role? If it is to be effected by the divine Shakti, then what is the role? What is the role to be performed by the humanity? Then, but even if the divine Shakti comes forward to rend the veil will not be rent. Why? Even the divine Shakti alone is not capable of rending the veil. Why? Why? Although it will be effected by the divine Shakti, but divine Shakti alone cannot rend the veil. Why? But even if the divine Shakti comes forward to rend the veil will not be rent. The light of the supermind will not be rent. The light of the supermind will not illumine our consciousness. So divine Shakti alone is not capable, because I am already insisting on word, conscious cooperation of the humanity. Conscious cooperation of the humanity. So unless there is an intense aspiration, unless there is an instant aspiration on our part, this is what is called sadhana. So there will be aspiration from below, then will be response from above. This is the crux of the teachings of Mahayogi Sri Aurobindo. So it will be effected, it will be made the evolution from man to mind. The transformation of mind into supermind will be effected, but will be effected by the divine Shakti, not by the mentality of humanity, not by mind, but by the divine Shakti. But even the divine Shakti alone is not capable of rending the veil between mind and supermind. It has to be, there has to be aspiration on the part of humanity. The aspiration from below and the response from above. Then only Mother could, rend the veil. There must be aspiration, along with rejection of our lower natures and surrender wholly to the Mother. Surrendering wholly to the Mother. So, but even if the divine Shakti comes forward to rend the veil will not be rent. The light of the supermind will not be rent. The light of the supermind will not illumine our consciousness. Unless there is an intense aspiration on our part for it, and an opening out of the whole of our body, life and life, body, soul and mind, for the purpose of receiving the light. Here is the point where philosophy joins. So Sri Aurobindo is not only philosopher, he is philosophy at this point. At this point, his philosophy joins hands with yoga. So this is one of the another pertinent point of Mahayogi's teaching. His philosophy joins hands with yoga, the conscious cooperation of humanity, which nurtures tapasya. So what philosophy establishes theoretically as a fundamental necessity, we can realize practically through yoga. So ultimately, what is the teachings of Mahayogi then? First, matter and spirit both have to be looked upon as real. There is a consciousness and reality behind the appearance of this manifestation. And that reality and consciousness is here involved in this matter. So evolution is the process by which the spirits liberate itself. So far, evolution has taken place up to mind, from matter, then life, then mind. Now, evolution is not finished. Evolution still continues. So now, mind has to evolve into supermind. But there is a realm, there is a veil between mind and supermind. Because mind belongs to lower hemisphere, supermind belongs to upper hemisphere. So there is a veil, there is a knot between lower hemisphere and the upper hemisphere. There is a knot between mind and supermind. There is a veil between mind and supermind. Mind alone cannot effect. Mind cannot alone effect this evolution from mind into supermind. So who will be effecting this evolution? The divine Shakti. But even if divine Shakti comes forward, she will not be able to rend the veil, because there must be aspiration. There must be conscious cooperation from below. Then only there will be response from above. And if humanity does not collaborate, then nature will not wait for humanity for indefinite period of time. Then man will be surpassed. Then man will be surpassed. Evolution will take place, but humanity will be surpassed. So man is to collaborate. Man is to collaborate with the divine Shakti, with his intense aspiration, by rejecting his lower nature and surrendering wholly before the divine Shakti. So now let me conclude with two mothers' quotes. Finally, to summarize my whole speech, let me quote two quotes from mother's writing. First, so what can we do then? What can we do? As a very preliminary first step, what can we do? Mother says, and let me quote, Sri Aurobindo came upon earth. Why Sri Aurobindo came upon earth? Mother says, Sri Aurobindo came upon earth to announce the manifestation of the supramental world. And not only did he announce this manifestation, but he also embodied in part the supramental force, and gave us the example of what we must do to prepare ourselves for this manifestation. The best thing we can do, as suggested by the mother, as advised by the mother, the best thing we can do is to study all he has told us. Strive to follow his example and prepare ourselves for the new manifestation. This gives life its true meaning and will help us to overcome all obstacles. Let us live for the new creation, and we shall grow stronger and stronger while remaining young and progressive. Unquote. And now, let me offer once again my homage and gratitude to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo at this auspicious moment of Sesquicentenary of his birth, celebrated across the world, throughout the country. And let me conclude with a quote from the Mother, which you have perhaps seen in the Samadhi in Pondicherry. So to thee, this is our supreme gratitude to Sri Aurobindo. To thee, who has been the material envelope of our Master. To thee, our infinite gratitude. Before thee, who has done so much for us, who has worked, struggled, suffered, hoped, endured so much, before thee, who has willed all, attempted all, prepared, achieved all for us, before thee, we bow down and implore that we may never forget, even for a moment. We may never forget, even for a moment, all we owe to thee. Unquote. And with these few words, let me conclude my namaskar and gratitude to all of you. Thank you.
Narration